Okay, let's get right back into it. We were talking about title insurance today, and I want to continue and finish up on title insurance. We just got done talking a little bit about the risks with dealing with a local company on large transactions. One of the things I do want to mention is I always like dealing with local companies when possible, just as a general practice. But again, your safety and protection of your money, and your home are something that is a huge consideration. Now, the other approach is to use a title company who is a national title company, or at least located with multiple offices, with large cash reserves, maybe in multiple states, so that you know that they have the financial backing to pay a claim. It's kind of like going with a Liberty Mutual, Allstate, Farmers Insurance. When you're talking about auto insurance, the big box brand versus Joe's Insurance Company, where he's the he's got $4 million maybe in net assets in order to get his insurance certificate or whatever it is here in the state of Arizona, but no financial backing beyond that, and a large claim can hurt him, where a national company can absorb a claim. So you buy a house for $250,000, they have to pay a claim on it. They can afford that and absorb it throughout the company. So again, I like the idea of using national title companies. There are many of those. You got the Fidelities, you got Chicago, you've got Stewart. There's a lot of national title companies. In fact, there are a lot of them. So it's easy to find a national title company. And the important thing, let me say this, that with a local or national title companies, develop a relationship. Now, you may not have one as a buyer. You may not have one as a seller, but your real estate agent should have a relationship with a title company and know a title company's competency and the title agent's ability to process transactions. Like a lot of people, I have a favorite title agent that I use. And Julie Barnes over Stewart Title in Tempe, just simply because she is very adept at handling short sales, foreclosures, equity transactions. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about here real quickly is the mail order companies. And some Fannie Mae properties, when you make an offer on them, they require you to use a company that's maybe licensed in Arizona but located in California, and your only communication with them is by phone and by email. The problem is you take out the personal touch. There's really nobody you can go and look at and talk to if you have an issue. So again, my preference is to use a large national company with a local presence, somebody who you can develop a personal relationship with. That seems to make a better combination. All right, it's time for us to get to a couple questions from you, our listeners. And if you haven't sent in a question or comment, I recommend that you send that to me at radio@rescottaz.com. And here's the first question we have today. If I'm paying cash and know the history of the property, do I need title insurance? Well, here's the thing. You may know the outward history of the property. Let's say that your cousin owns a property and he has to move, and you decide you want to buy it. You know the outward workings. You don't have any idea about the underlying tax liens. You don't know if it's subject to IRS general liens. You don't know whether there's mechanicsman's liens. You don't know whether there's adverse possession claims against the property. You don't know whether there is underlying rights that belong to some other individual. So the problem is let's say you pay cash for this property from your cousin, and you buy the home, and 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you find out that there was an underlying claim against this, and somebody has a right in possession to your property. Your only solution is to hire an attorney, and all those attorney fees and legal costs and defending of the claims and potentially paying the claims are going to come out of your pocket. So just like auto insurance protects you in the event of an auto accident, title insurance protects you in the event of any acts on title. And title insurance Typically, we're talking somewhere between about $600 and $1,200 on an average transaction. Obviously, $1 million home is going to carry a little bit higher cost policy, but it's negligible, and the costs don't go up exponentially when you go from $100 to $200 or $200 to $300,000 house. So again, if you're paying cash, title insurance is highly recommended. All right, on to our next question. Do I have to use the title company that my agent is wanting me to use? And the answer is no. You can select whatever title company it is that you wish to use. For instance, when my clients come to me, I tell them about my experience with Stewart Title. When maybe another realtor's client comes to them, they may tell them about their experience with maybe a Chicago or Fidelity or DHI title, and tell them that this is the reason why I recommend that you use this. However, you may have a relationship with somebody who's in the title industry. Your neighbor may be a title agent, and you've known them for 20 years, and you know that they've got great experience in doing short sale transactions or lender-owned property REO transactions, and you want to use them. You have a right to request use of whatever title company that you want. Now, your agent is going to, just tell you about their experience so that you have that information and that knowledge. But if you have somebody, you have a right to use them. In fact, if the seller is requiring you to use a title company because they are paying the owner's policy and they have a negotiated very good deal on the cost of purchasing that owner's policy, you can still choose a different title company. It's just you're going to have to pay the fees for that. So simply it's a matter of you deciding that, hey, it's worth it to pay the little bit extra to use my own title company, maybe for my lender's policy, or sometimes I've had on Fannie Mae Freddie Mac transactions where they said you can use your own title company, but you have to pay us, you have to pay the difference in the cost of the policies. So you do have a right to choose whatever title company that you want to use, and you can't be bullied into using somebody that you don't want. For instance, maybe you were in a transaction with ABC Title Company and it went terribly wrong and you ended up having to file a claim against them. Well, when you go to buy another house, you don't want to be subject to using that title company. And so you have a right to choose another title company that you feel comfortable with, who you want, that you have trust and confidence in, and that you want writing your title policy. And so I say, in this instance, it's important for you to assert your rights in the transaction, and all terms are negotiated in a transaction. Even if somebody says, well, this is the way we do it, well, they can be negotiated, and if they can't be negotiated, you can always move on and look for another property. It would be a reason to cancel a transaction ultimately if you couldn't or didn't see eye to eye on something. So now, does it matter which title company you use depending on the type of transaction that you have? Typically, if you're going to be on the buyer side buying a lender-owned property, the lender is going to request or require the transaction to be done at their title company. You can obviously request that your lender side policy or that you have another title company write policy for you. However, they've got negotiated fees for these companies, and sometimes they are the mail order companies. They'll require you to utilize a company that's out of state but licensed in Arizona, and it's just something you need to be aware of up front. But there are companies that have whole departments. For instance, Stewart Title of Phoenix has a department downtown that does REOs, and so you know that they're very good with doing lender-owned properties. You can talk to the title company and ask them, what's your experience in working with maybe short sales or those type of things? And there's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely seek out and find their experience and go with somebody that you're very comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with the company your agent's recommended, ask him to find you a couple more so that you have some alternative options to seek out. So we're coming close to the end of the program today, but I do want to invite you once again. Please, if you have any questions or comments for me, please send those by email to radio@rescottaz.com. That's radio@rescottaz.com. az.com. Love to get your comments, your questions. If we can't answer them on air during one of our broadcasts, we'd love to have an opportunity to respond to you by email and answer your questions kind of as another point of maybe opinion or perspective to your question or transaction. But we'd love to help you out. Love to hear from you. So you have a great week. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon.